welcome back to Red Cedar Radar. I've been gone for 2 weeks, so I apologize about that. I graduated college and I celebrated a little too much, so I'm back with a very special guest this week. I'm super excited.
Don't.
I know. I've been working up to asking you on the pod for a while now, so we picked like the time of year where there's lots of different types of news.
Yeah.
We have a lot of different things to talk about, but first, Matt, I would like to kind of give an introduction to who you are. I'm sure everyone knows already, but
No, you'd be surprised. Oh, yeah.
So tell me a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Well, first, I'm going to bounce this right back to you. Congratulations on graduating. That's awesome.
Thank you.
There you
Thank
go.
you.
The celebration's worthwhile. I'm a clown with a microphone and a webcam that does a podcast normally 5 days a week on Locked On Spartans, but in June, July, scaled down to 3 days a week. I know. I'm very lazy over here. And then I do SD4L as well once a week with my man Justin Thind. Of course, he's at the rival 24/7 Sports, so I can't say anything too nice about him. But yeah, so that's what I do. I'm always just thinking, eating, sleeping, talking Spartans because, come on, what else is a healthy adult individual going to do? I mean, please, do anything productive with their time? No, not me.
So did you ever imagine that when you started to get a bigger following on Twitter that all of this stuff would happen? Or has it just been like one thing snowballing after another that you weren't expecting?
Yeah, absolutely not. Did I think that this is where things would be, I mean, again, it's nothing, too crazy. It's not like 97.1 or ESPN radio, but it is something, that I'm able to do as a nice little side gig. It is very fun, but no, like I used to just be, okay, I'm going to pause myself. Used to just be a clown on Twitter. I am still a clown on twitter.com, but yeah, like Will Hunter, he used to host Locked On Spartans. He had me on once a week, and then I had some offhand comments that people were not thrilled about. They're like, this guy lacks professionalism. This guy's a joke. And Will, God bless his heart, he's like, perfect. That's what we're looking for on this show. Awesome. So kept having me on. I was a full-time co-host, and then he stepped away to go do his next thing in life. And yeah, I've been trying to carry the baton. He left some major shoes to fill. So that's how I have stumbled in to this right here. And of course, COVID happens. We all work from home. I find some time during my day where okay, I can fire up this webcam and this microphone and scream about the Michigan State football and basketball Spartans. So that's kind of my road trip here. Yeah.
Okay, last question on this, and then we'll move into some, official news. Yeah.
Right.
So what would you say if you had to pick some of your favorite things that you've gotten to do because of all of this?
Oh, man.
I know what? Big questions.
Oh God, I'm really gonna try to sound grounded here because I know how outlandish of a statement this is in the story, but shooting hoops in Tom Izzo's driveway has to be up there, and there's no good way to say that without coming off as pompous or whatever. But where I used to work, this is my old job. We worked with an account, and the account guy he was a former student manager under Tom Izzo, and every year they have this putt-putt event for student managers to fund their scholarship, all that good stuff. And the dinner that year was back at Izzo's house, and they had a free throw contest. And me, I've made about 8 free throws in my entire life leading up to this moment. And then the first round was, hey, shoot 10 free throws, see how many you make. And wouldn't you know, I made 8. So I got myself in the semifinals, fell in the eventual finals because, I turned back into myself and I shot 5 of 10. But yeah, the winner got to take on Tom Izzo. I was not that guy, but he drained 36 straight just in his own driveway, just absolutely automatic. So that's also the same event where I got this painting behind me, the Tom Izzo yelling at Aaron Henry. That was during a raffle where, of course, you talk about an all-time day. This was stroke of luck after stroke of luck. So I would have to say that's the best day.
Yeah.
But the account guy, he knew I was a State fan because he was one of the poor souls that followed my work and so invited me out, which I'm forever grateful for.
Yeah, that's amazing. I just think it's so fun that you get to still be a fan in the way that you are, but get to do all these professional things. Because sometimes I feel like as you get into being more of a professional in these areas, you lose some of that fandom. And that's something that I think is very fun about what you do.
For sure.
Yeah.
And like I did give that a try my senior year. I wrote for the State News. I covered the men's basketball team, and literally no one is going to believe this, but I truly was like down the middle, non-biased. There were
Yes.
games where like MSU was coming back and I'm saying like, please don't. I don't want to go into overtime right now. Like I'm on deadline. Like there was a year in my life where I was not an MSU fan, and looking back, I hated that. I was like, no. If I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this the way where I'm comfortable in my own skin about it, which is just being a blind homer and rooting for all things Michigan State. I mean, no, being objective down the middle, like, it was a fun year trial. Not for me, though. But that's what college is for, experimenting, seeing what you like and don't like. And that wasn't for me. Wasn't for me.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so let's move in to some different topics that I have for us to go over. First up, I want to touch on the upcoming official visits that are this weekend, June 9th through the 11th. I'm seeing a mix of 3 and 4 star guys that are coming. Any names off the list, and I'll have the official visit list linked in the bio of this episode. Any names off that list that you think people should be looking out for the most?
Absolutely. First and foremost, I have to go to the 4 stars right now because those are the shiniest objects.
Right.
I'm attracted to that, like a moth flying right into the light. There are 2 that I really have circled. The first one is offensive tackle Nathan Roy. Kid is out of Wisconsin. He's down between 3 schools, UCLA, which he already visited. Okay, his brother goes there. He's from the West Coast but moved to Wisconsin because I guess if you want to be an offensive lineman, what better place than the Midwest? That's a pretty good breeding ground right there. It's Michigan State is the second school, and then Minnesota is the third school. Minnesota does get the last say, and the old adage in recruiting is you either want to be that first visit, set the tone for all the other visits, or have that closing word. So Michigan State is in the middle of those, but obviously, he's got a good relationship with Coach Cap. He's got a good relationship with Minnesota's coaching staff as well. So this could be a big weekend for Nathan Roy and Michigan State alike because his commitment is coming in less than 2 weeks. It's going to be, I think, 3 days after he gets off that Minnesota visit. So that's going to be very exciting as well. Not just a 4-star, but a top 200 kid. And this would be the second year in a row where a top 200 offensive tackle comes to Michigan State, Stanton Ramel being the other one last year. So that would be some serious momentum for Coach Cap. So that's number 1, Sydney. Number 2, how do you like the nickname Scooter? Because
I like it.
For running back 2 of all positions, that's who I got to gravitate to next. 4-star Anthony Scooter Carey. The fine folks at Rivals. That's right. There's a gentleman. Of course, you'd think I'd write this guy's name down to be professional, but nope. I have no idea who this guy was other than he writes for Rivals. He had South Carolina as a predicted place for Scooter Carey. But on June 2nd, that's right, 6 days ago, switched it to Michigan State. Other recruiting platforms have predictions in for Anthony Carey to pick Michigan State. He's got visits after this. I believe North Carolina is also on his list. He's from Florida. I'm certainly those schools are going to be after him a little bit. But a lot of smoke in the Anthony Scooter Carey camp. So I wonder, no commitments last week, which that's okay. It's weekend number 1. I mean, why would these kids cancel their whole month of visits? But weekend number 2, Sydney, could this be the one? Could this be the guy that actually commits with his feet on the ground on East Lansing soil? I've not heard that he will, but if there is a guy on this list that could, I think that's got to be the guy that you have to anoint right there. So a lot of, I swear to God, this guy's been on Twitter for like 7 years talking about Michigan State too. Like this guy was talking about visits back in like 2016, I feel like. So yeah, Scooter Carey, those are the 2 that really come to mind here.
Okay. I feel like, as I said to you before we started recording, I've been a little bit removed from all the official visits and stuff, just because I feel like, and I've talked about this in my last couple episodes, so if you listen to me, more than once, you know that this is how I feel. I feel like everything is so different with this whole process now, and I'm not used to it, and it's not about me, but it sort of is, and I just can't get into it as much because of how everything has changed. I can't keep up almost. Yeah.
Everyone turn it down right now because I'm going to say something that no one should know. I hate it. Like, it is just so over the top and overblown. And maybe this is my old man yells at clouds moment. Like, just high school football recruiting is finally what has aged me into that next generation. But, like, it's ridiculous, Sydney, isn't it? Like, I mean, everyone would rip on Graham Couch the last few years when he said, like, oh, commitment doesn't mean anything. That means he's leaning towards your school.
Right.
he's bang on. He is
Mm-hmm.
spot on. Like, the commitment does not mean anything anymore in football, at least. Basketball, it still has a little
Yeah.
bit of thread hanging onto it, but like,
Mm-hmm.
no. But again, you know what? It gets the people fired up. It gets me
That's
regrettably
true.
fired up. It's just like I feel like a fool covering this and following it. But like,
Yeah.
what am I going to do? Change who I am? No, of course not. Like, it's so
Yeah.
that's like, look, I got a lot of personality flaws. That's probably the one that I hate the most, is that how closely I follow like college recruiting. It's like, oh god, I just can't
Someone
turn away
has
from
to
it.
do it because
I
it can't be
guess.
me. You know,
I
I had to
guess,
pass
yeah.
it
No,
on.
you live a good life. I mean, I'm very envious of you. That's you seem happy, so good for you. And you could attribute that to not getting in the weeds of football recruiting. But yeah, it's a good weekend for Michigan State. So
um, like I said, that link to our official visit kind of clock and calendar that we have on Spartans Illustrated will be linked in the bio, so you can check that out. Ryan and some of the other guys are doing really good work with keeping everyone up to date on that information, so check that out. Next up, I want to talk about our friend from Iowa, Terry Roberts, that just pretty much made it official, or MSU made it official. It was like in the wind for a while on
yeah.
Instagram, and then he tweeted just like randomly that his recruiting was closed. But any notes on him at all?
It is like he almost just forgot to announce his
Yeah,
commitment, right? Like, I
I
think
feel
he was
like,
dead set
yeah,
on just going the rest of the summer, just being like, people will
yeah.
figure it out. Sure.
Where like as we just said, like where people are so over the top with it, he was just like,
Yeah.
yeah, my recruiting's
Like, oh
closed.
yeah, that was on
Yeah,
Instagram like 2 days
I know,
ago. I
I
guess.
know.
Yeah, I'm committed. But no, I
Yeah,
love it. And look, I'm not going to anoint this guy as like Darrell Revis or anything crazy
yeah,
like that. But like, this is a position room where like you could be like the biggest rookie viewer of football, not know anything about the sport, and you could tell the Michigan State secondary is in kind of dire straits in the last few years. So look, whether it's from a competition standpoint of like, okay, the more bodies the merrier because they're going to push each other to get better. That's awesome. Or my bigger thing, everyone in the secondary seems to have their legs blown off at some point during the season, and everyone gets hurt. You need as many bodies in that position as possible. So yes, to bump that up to just another guy in the room, and not just to call him like, oh, some warm body. Like, no, like he
yeah,
does have 4 years of experience. He did start 4 games at Iowa, played in 33 games total, so he does have Power 5 experience. I mean, that's just great to have. I mean, does he start? Well, probably not, but just like I said, like probably by week 4, when everyone else gets hurt, you can see him on the field quite often. So it's just very beneficial. I've been almost reduced to tears on Locked On Spartans talking about how bad we need just depth in the secondary. And when I saw that graphic on Twitter today, I just heard an angelic choir. I've never been so
yeah.
fired up about like a backup cornerback just like coming to Michigan State. But yeah, I'm very excited about it.
Yeah, it seems like a good pickup, and from everything that I read and kind of what you said, everyone was like, this was needed for a multitude of reasons. You know, he's another person, but also like any good news right now, I feel like is
Sure.
important for the team.
Yeah, no kidding. God, it
Yeah.
feels like when one thing happens, like 3 bad things happen, and
I
hopefully,
know.
like,
Yeah.
let's just get a commitment. Like, make it 2 good things in a row.
Right.
Actually, I
Right.
didn't hate the schedule today. Actually, like all the opponents for 2024, 25, but I'm
Yeah.
jumping the gun big time right
No,
now.
let's
So,
go to
sorry.
that next. Let's go to that next. So, what do you think about that right off the bat? First of all, we discussed this before. The graphic was crazy, and
Thank you.
I was like blown away by everything that I was seeing. It was too much.
Yeah.
But what were your initial opinions?
No, that is my initial opinion, actually. Nothing that has to do with any opponents or anything. Is why are
Yeah.
the away games on top and in white? Usually you bat things off, lead off with the home games, and you also
Right.
color them in white. So I had just my whole
Yeah.
life was backwards. I thought that USC was coming here for like a good hour of my life. I was
Mhm.
celebrating with people in text chains, like back-to-back games at home against Michigan. This is awesome. And then I actually read what the
Mhm.
graphic wrote, and no,
Mhm.
that wasn't anything close to what we were talking about here. But no,
Yeah.
look, I don't think I hate it for 2024-25. Is that kind of what you're feeling here? Like, it could be a lot worse.
I feel like, there were a lot of like people with strong opinions, and I was trying to figure out the
Yeah.
graphic, and I didn't have a strong opinion, but I kind of like a change is okay. Like, I don't mind
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Seeing Ohio
Yeah.
State just once in 2 years, fine. That's
Right,
welcome. And I
right.
know that that's being substituted with like a road game at USC, which
Ooh,
not a picnic
might be
necessarily,
bad.
but
Yeah, right.
yeah, but it's different losing 56-3 with like palm trees in the background than like just
Yeah,
another Midwestern gray sky. So it's just like
right.
a different scene for the same episode that you've seen.
Yeah,
Not to be doubtful about our Spartans as they go to LA, but
yeah.
I don't know how that one's gonna go. But like, look, everywhere else, like the away games in 2024, Maryland, Michigan, Nebraska, Penn State. That's a little tricky. However, it's the home games that really get me. Illinois, Indiana, Ohio State, Purdue, and Rutgers. Look, Illinois, Indiana, Purdue, and Rutgers. That's a winnable game on a neutral
Right,
field and really on the road
right.
in most cases. I've completely blocked the last Indiana game out of memory, but just hang with
Doesn't
me here,
matter.
just for
Yeah,
sake
yeah.
of conversation. Yeah, the Ohio State game. I don't care if you're playing in front of 58 million Spartan fans. I don't think that
Hmm.
game's going to go your way regardless. But it's a good home schedule as well. You pair that up with a non-conference too, which is Florida Atlantic, Louisiana, and then at Boston College.
Hmm.
Like that could be a good year for Spartans, right? Like
Yeah,
not 9-3, maybe. I know that's lofty. Like lose to Ohio State, lose to Penn State, maybe lose to Michigan, but you got to win at Nebraska. That means you take care of all the
right,
other home games. It's in bounds, and then that means you're just one game away from 10-2, and 10-2 should most years get you in that 12-team playoff.
right,
So,
right.
I'm just a sick person. I talked myself into the playoff within like 90 seconds of
No,
seeing
I
that
love
graphic. I know, like both ways. The time I was reading it raw, and I really convinced myself, and then after
Hmm.
like I came down to earth and actually read it like an educated individual, it took me like 2 minutes, but I did get there. I was like, yeah, 12 seed,
Yeah.
10-2. It's not
I
bad.
do
So.
that all the time, especially with basketball. Like we
Oh yeah.
win a good game,
Oh
and
yeah.
I'm like, we're national champions. I'm like, there's no turning back. So I feel like I relate to that strongly, and it's
Yep.
okay to be that way because at least
It's
you're,
okay to dream.
yeah,
Yeah.
you're pointing to the
Right.
positives rather than, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
I don't
Okay, so
hate
my
that.
my next question, and I didn't put this on our little sheet here, but
Okay.
I just, and maybe this is, I don't know the exact logistics to all of this. Obviously,
Mhm.
like football and basketball, I think will be the first sports that start with UCLA and USC, right?
I think
Or,
it's football in 24.
and then
Yeah, no, I
basketball.
think it is football in 24, and then basketball follows suit that
Okay.
same fall, I think.
This is a question maybe for someone else, but you can
Mhm.
make up an answer. What does adding those schools to the Big Ten look like for those smaller sports? Are they going to be added in for like
Right.
tennis, women's soccer, men's soccer? Like,
I know.
what does that look like? I don't know that,
Uh,
but it's something
it's
that I've thought about.
it's fascinating, and like I think all the schools already in the Big Ten, like they get off kind of free, like you could just do those 2 road games at USC and UCLA in a package deal. Yes,
Right,
it's an expensive flight to get out there.
right.
It's going to be a pricey road trip, but you could knock out 2 games in 4 days and then fly back home. It sucks for
Yeah,
USC and UCLA though. Like kids that are
yeah,
coming here half their conference season. Like, sure, I'm sure they'll do
yeah.
road trips where they hit like Northwestern, Illinois, and
Mm-hmm.
Purdue in one fell swoop or something like that, or
That's brutal.
Michigan.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
that sucks. That
I
sucks.
just, do you think, like, as someone, as an athlete that's looking at places to go, if you're in that boat, do you choose a school like UCLA and USC where you're going to constantly be having to make those giant trips?
I know.
It may not matter to some people, but I feel like that might matter. I mean, that's a big deal. You're playing in
It,
a way different time zone,
right.
and yeah, I don't know. That's just something that I
Like
just wondered
during the
logistically
week.
what they thought of. Yeah,
I
right.
know. Did they think of it? I'm sure they did, and
I'm
they
sure.
saw all the millions raining down in
Right.
$100 bills in front of their eyes and said, "That's a future us problem."
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't know. Like, I'm sure, like, look, as you're a high school athlete, because look, both me and you have been in the situation, just being elite high school athletes looking at top flight colleges. This is something we both relate to.
Of course.
Everyone knows that. It sounds cool. It's like, hey, I get to fly
Yeah.
across the country. This is great. And then, like, maybe by that like 3rd road trip your freshman year,
Mm-hmm.
that the luster might get knocked off quite a
Yeah.
bit there. So like I truly do wonder how that's going to impact recruiting. Again, at the end
Yeah.
of the day, like it is USC, it is UCLA.
Right.
I mean,
Huge
this
schools.
is
Yeah.
this is who millionaires were committing
Right.
fraud just to get their own kid. Like if this is Oregon State or something like that, like I
Yeah.
think it would be a real damaging thing. But
Right.
that brand is so strong that in the end, it probably won't matter. But
You're
boy,
right.
I bet
Yeah.
you're going to get some annoyed student athletes by, I don't know, January if you're a
Yeah.
basketball player, or
Yeah.
yeah, I know it's
Yeah.
tough. It's tough.
Yeah, okay. So I think the consensus is 24 and 25 will be interesting and new. And I
Yeah.
think after that, if things need to change, then they'll be able to kind of shake it out from there. But I'm kind of excited about it. So we'll see.
Yeah, how do you like just Michigan being the only protected rival here? Did you want to see any other
I
schools added
just,
or no?
I just, I'm confused by that. Like, I
Yeah.
guess, I understand why they're the only protected one. But I
Hmm.
just, that to me brings so much money and hype and like rivalries
Yeah,
matter, and I just wonder why they presented it that way. I don't know. I'm
I
sure
know.
they're gonna be making plenty of money without that sort of stuff, but I like that stuff, so it's just will
I
be a
know.
change. What is your opinion?
It's the same. Like changes are coming. I hate it,
Yeah.
but what are you gonna do? But it's like at least like slow burn it for me. Like the transfer portal and NIL like is enough. Bringing USC,
Right.
USCLA in the mix is enough. But like just stripping what
Just
is that
like,
three
yeah.
trophy games out? Like the
Yeah.
Penn State, Indiana, and I'm sure I'm missing another one at the top of my head.
um
Doesn't matter. Like you're
yeah.
just stripping like trophy games that quickly, and
Yeah. Where
it's sad.
will do you think those trophies will just sit somewhere and be occasionally dusted, or what?
Maybe occasionally,
Like, I
once a
just want
year. That's it,
those have
right?
been, and do they stay with the last person? Like, do they just stay where they will be, or will they, like, what will happen to
Yeah,
them? Will they be
I
shoved in a
think so.
closet,
Oh God,
or
no! You have to flex that trophy, no
yeah,
matter what
yeah,
it is,
like
how long ago
being
you won it.
being
Yeah.
the last one to win this? Yeah, they will.
Hmm.
That will be presented. Yeah, that'll be. Eventually, they'll move it to like the MSU History Museum because there's no more
Sure.
room in our
Oh,
trophy case
oh,
for
this
it.
is so
Yeah,
sad. This is
yeah,
this is
yeah.
this is bleak.
Hmm. Hmm.
Depressing. With that
Yeah,
said, I can go without facing Penn State every year. Like that's the thing. It's
that
like I'm
is
bummed to
true.
see like it leave, but also like deep in the back of my head, I'm like,
Yeah, change
I'd
is
rather
good.
play Minnesota
Yeah,
than Penn State. You know, it's yeah,
yeah, definitely.
yeah.
Okay, moving on from talks about our conference stuff for the future, I want to highlight something that's super special.
Oh yeah.
This summer, the MSU basketball just posted out some pictures of Mady Sissoko back in Mali. He has spent his NIL money building a school, adding a well, and hosting a basketball clinic in his home country. And I just think that's very special and should be celebrated. Any thoughts on kind of what he's doing over there?
It's simply incredible,
Yeah,
amazing. Like there are like go open the source and just say like special, amazing, and like read every word there. That describes Mady Sissoko. But like
yeah,
I'm gonna be selfish and yeah, I'm gonna make this about me really quick. Yeah, my first thoughts is that I'm a piece of garbage. That's my first thought because look, Mady Sissoko, we praise him sometimes on our show, but there have been some times where I'm like, this guy can't catch an alley-oop pass. He doesn't have a post move. What is he doing? Oh my
I
God, we could
know.
really use a good big man.
Mm-hmm.
And then you see him, this gentleman
Yeah,
who's making money, could use it any way he wants. He gives it back to the community that
I
he's
know.
from. How noble of that. He is infinitely better of a person than I will ever be. If he just stopped all this right now and I kept living to be 200 years old, I wouldn't even be halfway to
I
where
know.
he is. And here I am just like complaining about a missed layup every once in a while. And this guy's building a well in a school back in his
Mm-hmm.
home country. This guy's
Yeah.
amazing. And I'm just terrible. I will not sleep tonight after I saw this. I'm like, oh my God, look in the mirror, you loser.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are my
Well,
thoughts, Sid. Yeah.
something something that I thought was just like in that era of like NIL being such a huge deal, and we have
Hmm.
guys like Hunter Dickinson like going right out and saying like I wasn't making enough money here, like I'm gonna go make some money over like
Yeah.
somewhere else.
Yeah.
This is like I've been feeling kind of really down on NIL just because of everything that
Sure.
happened with football and all that stuff. You know, maybe a recent Keon Coleman interview that we won't talk about too much, but we'll move
Hmm.
on from that. Um, I just think this is a bright spot in what that stuff is doing and what it can do for student athletes to be able to build something like this.
Yeah.
It kind of made me rethink about what I have been thinking about NIL and kind of feeling about the whole process. So it was nice to kind of have that, coin flip a little bit.
Yeah,
I don't know.
you hear a lot of the bad stories, but like there are the good ones out there. Like Kate Hauser
Mm-hmm.
too. Earlier in the
Right.
season, I mean, he was selling merch and he was flipping that for the Spartan Strong Foundation
Yep.
as
Yep.
well after the tragedy. So just stories
Yeah.
like that just need to be amplified more. I don't know if they happen to the degree that Mady is doing necessarily.
Right. Of
Like
course not.
that's
Yeah.
that's a little tough to beat. Like just building a just incredible resources back home in your
Yeah.
country. Like
Yeah.
wow. But still, even the small ones too. Like that's something to be
Yeah.
noted.
Yeah. The Mady Sissoko Foundation website link will also be in the bio. It's a really cool website, lots of good pictures of the stuff he's been doing, so check it out. It's super fun. After the Marquette game, I think it was, he was crying and they caught it on TV. And I started crying because I feel
Yeah.
like he has had a little bit of an up and down time at MSU. And to see him I think he came up with a couple big defensive plays at the end of that game. And to see him cry like that, I was like, yeah, I feel like he has a big heart. And this proves even more that he has a big heart. So. Yeah.
And that's the thing too. Just like take it on the court, like that's he is working his what off. Like it's not for lack of effort. It's not like he's just being aloof or just like not diving for a ball. Like no, he tries as hard as anyone, if not harder than the other 9 guys on the court. That's the thing. Like so, no, just incredible all around.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go to the website and donate right after this. I just feel so bad.
You can donate all the money that I'm paying you to come on the podcast.
Just like as a penance, I need to do something. So
yeah. That's why I actually invited you on so that you would donate. Yeah.
I appreciate that. Yeah, a kick in the that's needed. Thank you.
Okay, let's switch gears. Still on kind of a very fun note here. You just recently got to interview a very special new person on campus, Robyn Fralick. Is the new women's basketball coach. We've seen her kind of on the recruiting trail a little bit. She's picked up some new players and has been working in that area a bit. Any takeaways from your conversation with her? How was it?
It was awesome. She's great. I mean, there's no wondering how she got this job after talking with her for probably 20 seconds into the conversation. Like very down to earth, very approachable, all that good stuff. But it wasn't even like a lot of basketball X's and O's talk like at all in the interview. She really honed in on the people and everyone around her, the administration of the select department, and well, obviously the players themselves too. And that's what makes a winning culture. And the other thing I thought was really interesting is that she's been at Ashland before, and she's also been at Bowling Green State. And the way she described it, 2 very different paths to that head coaching chair. Ashland, she was the associate head coach. Person leaves. Okay, I'm going to slide right over and just keep this machine rolling. And she did. She went like something like 97-3 or something ridiculous like that.
Insane.
Like quite literally the highest win percentage at a single school in NCAA history. Like that's okay. That's fine.
Yeah.
Bowling Green, a little different. A proud, and she said, proud program, a lot of good history. They had the bones there, but, and this is my words, not hers, kind of in tatters when she got there. So it had to be a rebuild process. And the first 2-3 years, a slow climb, a slow burn, but that 3rd or 4th year, like halfway through the 3rd year, going into the 4th year, that's where it clicked. And, they got into the women's NIT last year. They finished 2nd in the MAC. They all, and, she didn't talk about this during the interview, but like she does utilize the transfer portal as well, and that was a good staple to have in their come up the last 2-3 seasons. So she's done it both ways. She's taken over a really good program and kept it going, and she's also taken one that's kind of been down, and I feel like MSU is somewhere in the middle of that because I like it. Yeah. Do you think it's a rebuild? I kept on using the word revamp. Like that's what I landed on. Is that fine?
It's tough. I have never known a women's basketball team at MSU without Susie Merchant.
Right.
And I feel like over these, and maybe it's been for a while and I just didn't notice, but I feel like it wasn't like a decline because there was, I mean, it was kind of steady, but I agree with like the revamp point.
Yeah.
These past couple of years, Coach Merchant had a couple things happen, and I feel like the program was just kind of like up in the air for a while. And I feel like since the new coach has come to campus, Robyn, I feel like it seems more grounded and more things are happening, whereas before it was just kind of like up in the air. You didn't really know. I
Right.
don't know if that's a right feeling or not,
No,
but
I'm right with you because, like, ever
yeah.
since like I was a student, my freshman year is in 2010, which holy Jesus, 13 years ago, I'm a dinosaur. Like, ever since then, because like that's when I kind of started like paying attention to like women's basketball a
Right.
little bit. Is it was always fine.
Mhm.
Kind
Yeah.
of a hard
Yeah.
stop there, right? I mean, it was kind
Right.
of fun,
Right.
like, and that's
Mhm.
it. And after, well, I mean, obviously that went longer than 13 years, but like after that
Mhm.
long of time was just complacency, I guess, or just
Right. I
I don't know. It
agree.
just
Yeah.
seemed to get a little stale at the end, and like it just needed to freshen
Yeah.
up, which is tough because Susie did so many good things for this program,
Mhm.
the community, all that stuff. It's difficult to like talk and not completely undermine all the work she did because
Of course.
she did have a good run here, but
Yeah.
it was time
I
for a
think so.
shakeup, and they got
Yep.
good young energy. Someone that's
Mhm.
local, she grew up in Okemos, of
Right.
course. So
Right. Mhm.
yeah, I mean it's a really really big positive. Now I'm not going to
Yeah.
claim to know that like she was on my short list for coaches. No, but like once you just
Yeah.
read what her Wikipedia for 30 seconds, it's like, oh yeah,
Mhm.
this
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
gonna work here. So yeah, I
Yeah.
liked it a lot.
Yeah, I think she was definitely the right pickup, and I feel like um it came at a time when this past year they had an okay year. I went and I
Yeah.
covered a couple games for them.
Okay.
And obviously like Susie was I say Susie like I know her.
Yeah. No, lean into
Coach
that. Yeah.
whatever, yeah. Was
Subu Bear.
out.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
There we
Was
go.
out at the end. So there was just a lot of things that weren't running smoothly because she was gone.
Sure.
And now that
Yeah.
they have a new coach in there and things are more set, I'm excited to cover some more games, hopefully, if Ryan and David keep me around. Um, I'm excited to see if it feels like a well oiled machine again with a
Yeah.
new coach and a new culture and all of that stuff. So, super
And I hope
exciting.
that the community rallies too, because that's what she talked about a
Definitely.
lot is the community at Bowling Green. They had sold out gyms back there at Ashland. They did,
Hmm.
and look, hopefully that this re-energizes the fan base as well. Maybe you get some residual passion from the men's basketball team as well, or
Yeah.
overall too. We talked about this at the end of our chat. Like the women's game, I don't think has ever been in a healthier place.
Yeah.
Like I'm just
Seriously.
I mean,
Hmm.
like that's not just like just me selfishly speaking, right? Because like this is the most I've ever watched women's basketball last year. Like you kind of get that vibe as well.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
definitely. I mean, Caitlin Clark opened the door for so many people and
Oh
women's
yeah,
basketball. Yeah. Well, and
yeah,
LSU, their whole team. I mean, I agree. I watch more women's basketball
yeah.
than I probably ever have before. And which is very exciting because it deserves just as much energy as men's basketball because
It
I
was
find
like, oh
women's
sorry,
basketball sometimes to be even more fun, but that's just me.
it was the perfect
Oh,
tournament for them because like they had the
yeah.
early round upsets, and that used to be a knock on women's basketball. It's like, oh, it's all chalk all the way. Like, okay,
Right.
Stanford couldn't get out of the first weekend. Indiana,
Yeah.
both one seeds, not the
Mhm.
first weekend. Caitlin Clark was the most exciting player in the tournament, both men
Yeah.
and women's.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, that's not a debate. I'm sorry, unless you're like a Kansas State
No.
fan and Marquise Noel, fine. That's the only
Yeah,
argument I'll ever
whatever.
hear. But like, no,
Yeah.
like Caitlin Clark was the best. And then the like LSU is a villain team.
Oh,
Like
they
Kim
are.
Mulkey, I despise her.
Yeah.
Despise her.
Well, first of all, I love her outfits. I think
Oh,
Izzo should get to that level with his outfits.
some
But
sequins, sports
yeah,
coats. Yeah.
feathers on his back. Yeah, yeah. I'll
Now we're
get in touch
talking.
with him about that. Yeah.
Yeah, do so.
Um,
Yeah.
I just speaking of you, this is me stalking your Twitter maybe a little bit, but you were
Yeah,
tweeting
no, that's
about
fine.
softball. I've been loving the Women's College World Series. I've
Yeah.
been like sitting on the edge of my seat, and I don't really love baseball or softball, but it's just so good to watch. I love it.
It's the best.
And
I know.
I've never gotten into it before, and I've been missing out. I just don't know why I didn't. But like this is coming from me who's a girl, but like the way they do their hair and the chants that they
Oh yeah.
do and everything, it's like there's so much energy and I love it.
I know. Yeah, it's an electric factory 24/7, and that's
Yeah.
also why I loved covering volleyball too. Like at state,
Oh,
like
seriously.
like I love volleyball
Hmm.
now. I play in a volleyball league now, but like my love for it
Hmm.
came like when I covered the state team. Oh, 38 years ago. This is when I did this at the state news. But like it is hype. hype. It is just 24 set. Like there's a celebration going on every 12 seconds. It's amazing. I love the passion, the energy, and well, to boot, just incredible athletes too that are. Guys, I mean, you talk about softball pitches and how on earth does anyone hit them? Like, how does anyone get in front of a spike in volleyball?
No.
I don't know.
Now that volleyball is in the Breslin, I would like to go and watch a couple of their games because that would be super fun, a super fun environment. And I'm glad that they were able to move that over to the Breslin because I think that opens the door for more fans to come.
I hope so too. And just it landed a top 10 recruiting class too. I just saw
seriously.
Chief of Propaganda just tweeted that out. Number 8 in the country. Look at you guys go. There we go.
Yeah. Okay, next thing, moving on, because I could talk about the Women's College World Series all day.
It's the best. It's awesome.
I'm a Tennessee fan. Have you been watching a particular team or no?
I'm like pure and utter domination fascinates me. So Oklahoma, like the death machine that they have rolling is unbelievable. So I gotta go with them.
Okay. Yeah. Actually, I haven't watched in a while. I don't even know if Tennessee is still playing or not. I just watched.
I think it's FSU and Oklahoma in the finals.
Oh, now. Okay. Yeah. Actually, is that happening right now?
Yeah, game 2 is happening maybe right now, or it might be already be over.
Okay.
Honestly, I don't know. They play quick games too. That's the other thing.
They do.
These games are 13 minutes long. It's great.
Yeah. Moves a lot faster than baseball, and I don't really know if that's true or not, but it's just more exciting. Yeah. Okay, last thing that I want to touch on, another sort of positive thing. Like I said, we're not going to talk about the Keon Coleman interview because I don't like that.
This is not a Florida State podcast. That's right.
Right.
We talk about Spartans here.
Right. So I want to talk about Jaren Jackson Jr., Triple J, just in an interview. And I found it to be very interesting. Things I didn't know that happened. I probably maybe could have guessed that those things happened. He stated in an interview that he was signing up for classes, getting ready to come back for another year, and Izzo had Draymond Green call him and, basically say, dude, you're being crazy. You got to go to the league. What do you think about that? Tell me your thoughts there, and then I'll ask you some other questions.
I don't believe any draft prospect that ever says, I don't look at the mock drafts. I don't believe a single one of them until I heard this interview. Because, between he was actually enrolling for classes, dude, you're going to be a top 5 pick. But also, when I was recording SD4L yesterday, Justin Thin, my co-host, he knew Jaren Jackson kind of his freshman year and knew people that knew him. They were freshmen at the same time. And Jaren was always talking about next year, as he was a freshman. Next year, we're going to do this. I'm going to room with this. I'm going to do this and that. And I thought that was fascinating when he was talking about that on the show last night because, this isn't all just window dressing. No, he legitimately was really prepared to come back for his sophomore year. So, of course you can glean on the fact that, Izzo is truly looking out for his guys, contrary to popular belief among some rival fan bases. Tom Izzo actually does care about his guys and reached out to his loudest voice, literally and figuratively, in Draymond Green and, said, son, you want to go back and be a sophomore, or do you want to make $30 million in a rookie deal right now? And then when that wraps up, $110 million guaranteed right after that. So, it worked out okay for Jaren here. Yeah.
Okay, couple of questions. Let's before I ask my biggest question, talk to me. Okay, we're gonna go on a tangent here. We talked about Draymond. You brought up Draymond being kind of Izzo's biggest voice. What is your opinion about Draymond now in the league?
I love him. I love him.
Okay, me too.
Solely because he's a Spartan, though. If he was a Oklahoma State Cowboy or Texas A&M, any other random school, I would be a little leery. Now, what I do like about him is that he backs up what he says.
True.
It's not like a Dylan Brooks situation where he's just running his mouth and then turtles at the first sign of adversity. He backs it up, and when he's humble, he will be the first one to say it too. So he is as authentic and real as possible. Cocky, but you're allowed to be cocky if you can back it up the way he does.
Right,
so I love him like a family member. Draymond
me too. I got in a heated argument with someone not too long ago about, he plays too tough, he's too much, and I was I just don't understand why that's not a likable characteristic. I want him to play tougher. I want him to be more I don't know. I feel and when you said the biggest voice, that made me think of that. And I just, I just admire him and I want to be his best friend. He hasn't answered any of my emails, but it's okay.
Shit. Yeah. Happens.
Yeah. Okay,
Happens.
big question about back to Triple J here.
All right.
Would MSU's recent Final Four game against Texas Tech, would that game be different if Jaren stayed?
It'd be foolish to say no, right? Like
Right. That's what I think.
It would be different. Of
Mm-hmm.
course, I just don't know like how much different.
I know.
Would it have been enough to climb over that deficit? Because like I think the final score was a 10-point loss, but like it was a 3-point game with a minute left. So like yes, I think it is different.
Mm-hmm.
However, like I'm doing okay, and I hope a lot of other State fans are doing okay. Like they didn't read that or hear that Jaren Jackson interview and just like stared at the ceiling the rest of the night, being like, "What could have been?" Because look,
No.
I said this, SD4L. Could I plug anything more? That like, if I'm a loser for having this mentality, then so be it. Whatever. That's great. I'll be happy being a loser. But like, you still won the Big Ten regular season title. You still won the Big Ten tournament title in a classic over Michigan, and you still won arguably the most historic Elite Eight game. This is probably a little biased from a State fan, but definitely one of the most historic Elite Eight games to get to a Final Four and get Izzo's 8th Final Four banner. Like, if that's what you get for second place of not having Jaren Jackson here, like, you know what? Then I must be the biggest loser in the world because I'm still pretty happy with that. Like,
of course.
It's like the whole thing was like the pass interferences against Notre Dame back in 2013. It's like, oh, we would have won the national title that year. It's like, yeah, but we also won a Big Ten title in the Rose Bowl. So like, I'm not crying too many tears. I mean, I'm sorry. Maybe this is how I cope with the fact that we can't go back and change anything. But like, it's a great consolation to have. So
yeah,
it's fine.
I really do think your point of like, and maybe it would have been a little different, but I don't know if that one person would have changed the entire thing.
And this I'm sorry, go ahead, sorry.
I was just gonna say I was there at that game sitting in the I-zone. So it wasn't like riser seating. Right, it was like I had to look up at the Jumbotron because I couldn't see the court. Yeah. But like that version of me would have been like, yes, it would have been different, like,
Of course. But
now I just feel like it was gone. It was too far out of reach, and I don't think one guy would have changed that. I don't know.
I know, and like, I'm sorry, I'm ranting on a tangent here, but like, this is like maybe the thing that I say that like it's the most people upset, like my most controversial opinion, if you will. It's like, a lot of people say like that's national title number 2 that got away from Izzo. I don't think, like, guys, I'm sorry. Texas Tech was a really good team. I know that it's very weird to say Texas Tech was a good team. Like, it doesn't fit the bill, but like they were pretty sick that year. Like, they had Jared Culver on the team. They had an amazing defense that was like, it felt like they had 7 people on defense. Like, I don't know if Jaren Jackson on a few pick and pops is the answer there. Like, MSU was settling for tough jump shots from the get-go. And also, like, they were against a nuclear guy, Matt Mooney. I don't know if you're going to put Jaren Jackson on him on the perimeter. It doesn't change things, of course it does, but like I don't know. I just tip my hat to Texas Tech. They were a really, really good team. And they also had to play Virginia in the title, who I think was the best team in the country that year. That's of course. Very cold, easy take to say because they had the banner and they won the whole thing. But they also had divine intervention on their side too. They had 3 incredibly crazy games where every god of every religion intervened into their final minutes and just gave them the win. It was nuts. So no, like Virginia was not losing that entire tournament. I don't care if the Warriors were on the court; they were not going to lose that tournament.
I don't think so either. So last thing, I think that's good. Healthy, couldn't have changed it. Why? Yeah. Last thing that I want to let it be right. Okay. Last thing that I want to bring up that I forgot to put on our little sheet here. We recently won an NIL award. We, not you and I, Michigan State. We. Yep. And I was shocked by that, and maybe I shouldn't be shocked by that. But with the recent things that have happened, I just was surprised that we got that award, or MSU got that award. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, because NIL, like, we always think like, oh, the collectives, the bands of money that are coming in, but like, MSU can't facilitate that. Like they
Mm-hmm.
like Mel Tucker isn't sitting down with the kids this weekend and being like, hey, Darian Harris over there, he's running the collective. He has
Yeah.
$400,000 cash for you right now. You know, I mean, like it all comes from the outside, and of course, like I won't be naive. I'm sure a lot of the coaching staffs around the whole country know what's going on, but still, in theory, they can't do the money, which is where MSU lost a lot of recruits. Like, hey, Miami's going to pay what now? How much? So, you know, just stories like that. But the NIL, first of all, Darian Harris is a saint. I reached out to him just to get clarity of like, what does this even mean? And he said it's education, it's profiling our student athletes, it is getting like the United Wholesale Mortgage deal wrapped up for all of our student athletes. Like they can help broker that a little bit or fine tune the language in that. So it was more so the education of it, what they do, the exposure for their kids. So it's all like the nitty gritty stuff that like I never really thought about. Like I'm sure a lot of other people haven't thought about. So it's good. And like, so that's one half of the race, right? Is having like smart NIL, having financial literacy for a lot of these kids. And that was another big thing. That's right. It was like financial literacy and what to do with your NIL, like give back to your country and build a school and a well and just, but no, now the other half has to just be the collectives, you know, coming together. And this is a problem across the country is like a lot of schools, they'll have like 4 or 5 different collectives. All 4 or 5 of them disagree with what the other one's doing. Now you have split power, split money, and like it's very rare to come by a school that has like 1 or 2 avenues. They're all on the same page, and they're also just raking in millions to hand out to kids. Like that's incredibly tough to come by. Really, NIL has made, and Texas used to have this problem even before NIL. Is like the adage is that Texas has like 8 athletic directors. Like they have 8 super mega powerful donors that want to call every single shot. And that just discombobulates everything. Yeah. Well, now it's not just for Texas and those mega schools. Like it is for across Power 5, even Group of 5. Anyone with money wants to feel like they can call some shots, and it kind of really muddies the water. So MSU is doing the best at making it as clear as possible. So that's where that award comes from. It's just, it is crazy out here. Crazy.
That's some good clarity, though, because those were things that I didn't know about it. And I just was like, I don't really know what this really even means. It's not really that big a deal. I love the financial literacy piece of it because you're giving these kids coming right out of high school. They're not kids. They're student athletes. But,
but
you're giving them money, like probably money that nobody's ever given them before. And it's like, you know, teaching them what to do with it, how to handle it. I love that. So thank you for that clarity. I feel like I should respect that award much more now after knowing that. It's like super cool. Yeah,
and like it is confusing too because MSU has had their recruiting issues like in NIL battles. So the NIL award might be that's odd, but no, like the financial literacy thing is so important because like heck, when I was in college and I got $20, oh my god, we were blowing this immediately at Rick's. Like this Like, and that same summit that they got the award at, they compiled a bunch of data, 1,000 student athletes. They talked to 30 NIL collectives, and they averaged out what kids are making. Starters in Power 5 are making an average of like $40,000 or $45,000. It's like, could you even? I didn't make that much in my first job out of school. Like, could you imagine being in school? You're a 19-year-old kid, and you got 45 large. No, I quite literally cannot imagine that. I don't know what I would do. So no, it is good that you do have the structure in place and the good figures in that department to do your best to steer the kids in the right direction here. So that's what MSU is going for them. Yeah,
absolutely. Okay. I want to thank you very much for coming on the pod. It was super fun to have you. We talked about lots of different things, which is always fun. I do want to share a promo that Spartans Illustrated is doing. You can receive a free trial of our site up until fall camp begins. And I will put the promo code and all the information in the description. The description is going to be super long for this video because I've just thrown 8,000 things in there this whole episode. But use the promo code, get free access to Spartans Illustrated, and if you want, you can get a free Nudge Printing MSU t-shirt, and I'll put the information on how to get that. So I think it's a necessary thing that you need to do for a free shirt at least. I mean,
I think so. Yeah,
there's
Nudge has the most comfortable stuff too.
They do.
Like,
they do.
Amazing. Yeah.
Owned by MSU alumni. They're really great people. So check it out. If you need help getting the promo code to work or need help getting your shirt, reach out. I can help, or anyone at Spartans Illustrated is, I would say, qualified to assist with that. Anything else you want to say, Matt, before we sign off?
No, thank you so much. This is awesome. You guys have a great thing going with Red Cedar Radar, so this was awesome to get the invite. And God, just chatting was even better than I thought it would be. And I already had the bar like up here, so no, this is a great time. And God, yeah, I mean, truly, like, great job just running this thing, because it is tough.
Thank you.
To find content in June when you cover a college sports team, but no shortage. All thanks to you, Sydney. So you were awesome. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you very much. All right, subscribe to our YouTube, and you can find us audio version anywhere that you listen to your podcasts. Thanks so much, and I promise I will be back next week on a regular schedule. No more partying post-grad. So thanks again, and see you next week.